Hello, my name is Noah with Mensch Manufacturing, and today we're making a short video on our smaller 12-foot model trailer side shooters and the options that are available within them. We have 4 different models, 3 of which are chain driven and 1 is a belt drive. All of them are going to hold about 10 to 11 yards. And this is our first model. This is our W3350. This one's been around the longest. It's somewhat of the flagship model. It was designed primarily around sand. It has somewhat of a shallower side to it, so we typically will see a light material like a manure solids or a sawdust start to bridge in a unit like this, and we would urge somebody who's using that to move to a different model. This one works good with sand. We do have a couple different options on all 4 of these models as far as agitation is concerned. We do have guys that'll put a vibrator on these. We do recommend extreme intermittent use with those, as the vibrator can tear up a lot of things. And if you are using light materials and you wanted to stick with this model, we do also have an option for an agitator that you'd be able to stick in all 4 of these models. The second model that we'll show you today is going to be our W3355. And this was designed primarily around the customer that would have like a sand as well as a light materials. We do have customers that are bedding with both. This one has a steeper side to it to allow for more material to fall down onto the main chain without the need for mechanical agitation. But again, if we have a real high moisture content, the mechanical agitation or the vibrator may be something that we want to explore with this model. We do also have a model that's even steeper yet. It's almost a straight side. And if you're using exclusively light materials, then that would be the model that we would want to push you towards. That one, if you have a manure solids or a sawdust with a high moisture content, there still is no need for mechanical agitation, which just makes the overall machine simpler as well as less expensive to purchase. For those of you guys that want to get away from the chain and like the belt drive, we also offer a belt drive. We find that this one is easier and cheaper to maintain, and it just costs less when there's the need for replacement parts. So the belt will cost less than the chain, but we do find that there's a little bit higher maintenance perhaps on a day-to-day or a week-by-week or a month-by-month basis as far as tracking is concerned. In the winter, you want to make sure that we don't have any sand or ice buildup either on the drive or on the uptake side of that, as that can affect the tracking of that belt. So the chain is somewhat simpler, but it seems to have a higher wear rate, and the belt seems to have a better wear rate and lower cost replacement parts, but it also may have a little bit more finessing that needs to be done with the unit. Then we can go over here to the height extensions that we have. We have 3 different height extensions that are available for all 3 models. Only if you're going to be using the light materials would we recommend putting that on. With that 10 to 11 yard capacity, we're kind of putting the weight limit on the axles and the running gear. This right here is our least expensive and by far the simplest height extension that we have. We make it so that a customer could put like a 2x10 or a 2x8, something of that nature up there. It's super basic, but it does get the job done. We're going to add capacity to that by adding height. We also make a 12-inch metal height extension as well as a 2-foot metal height extension for all 4 of these models on the 12-foot range. And they do just provide a little bit of a cleaner look, and you can get a little bit more capacity, especially with the 2-foot metal one. We can go over now to the running gear. We have 3 different styles of running gear. Right now we have our tandem walking axle. This has our standard tire on it, which is basically a semi-steer tire. Has a really heavy casing. It's good for a lot of the dragging that we're doing, or if you've got a really rough yard or rough terrain that we're going to be driving it over, that walking axle is going to help balance that load out. With the walking axle, we also have a flotation tire option. That way, if you're going across really soft terrain, we do have some customers that like that. However, we feel like the rims are a little bit weaker on those flotation tires, where we do make the wheel here and it's got a 1/2-inch center plate to it, so it's going to be a more robust rim. The other option that we have in our axles is going to be our single axle. We do recommend that for a customer who's doing a lot of tight turns, who's maneuvering through some really tight spaces. That seems to be the best option for that. We have had customers say that it may not be the best if we got a lot of really bouncy terrain. We do really like that, and that tire does have enough width where we're actually getting about the same PSI on the concrete floors as we do with the tandem walking axle. So there are some different options. That one also would apply a credit to the base cost unit of the machine, so it's just simpler to manufacture. There's less parts, so it's going to save you money if you're able to use that single axle. We do have 3 different hydraulic drive options for all these machines. This is a self-contained PTO driven manual hydraulic, so it's got a manual valve, reach back, we'll run that. This is by far our most popular, it's been around forever, right? We do test all of our hydraulic components here. We test the whole machine here. We got a PTO driven machine that we hook it up to, so every machine has gone through and tested for leaks as well as function. And the next unit that we have is a self-contained hydraulic PTO driven, but it's a remote control. So we're going to get away from that manual valve. At this point, all we got to do is hook up a ground and a power to the tractor, hook up the PTO shaft, which is supplied, and we can go right to work with that. We'll be able to have a remote control in that cab. It does have a cost to it that would be added to the base cost of the machine, but it's an option that you guys do have. Again, it's all tested here. We would run that through. For both of these PTO driven units, you want to make sure that you do cut that PTO shaft to your specific length, as we do supply like a 48-inch PTO shaft, so those do have to get cut. The other option that we have is a tractor run hydraulic system. So for this system, we would need at least 3 remotes on the back of the tractor and 25 gallons a minute of flow. So we have 4 separate functions that we're running. We have our tilt, we have our cross conveyor motor, we have our main chain or our main belt motor, and then we have our door cylinder. So when we go with only 3 remotes like this one has here, we would actually have a manual jack on there that we can adjust that door height to, and we find that typically that customer would not adjust that door height. We would just be able to turn that on and go again. If the adjusting the door height is something that you have to have, then we would recommend getting a tractor with at least 4 remotes on there. So those are the options that we have for the hydraulic drive. This again would come with a credit off from the base price of the machine, because we don't have the pump, gearbox, reservoir, we don't have all that stuff. The last option that we do have for all of our 12-foot options is going to be this new cross conveyor that we developed around a construction company that's putting in a lot of solar fields. And what they want to do is they're bedding a 4-foot wide trench with about 4 inches of sand. So this conveyor has an 8-foot wide conveyor versus a standard typical 6.5-foot wide conveyor, and it's also able to shuttle about 33 inches to each side. So with that, we're able to get further away, and then we slow down the belt, and we have what we call here our deflector. So we're able to aim that material really precisely. And we're seeing this more popular with construction companies, and we're liking to move this towards people that are bedding large amounts of calf hutches, like a calf ranch or something, where we're able to kind of get that right over and dispense the material in that calf hutch and then move to the next one, and so on and so forth. So those are all the options that we have for all of our 12-foot boxes. If you have any questions, we'd love for you to contact us or your local Mensch dealer, and we'd love to explain these further with you. Thank you.